Previously on the Choecast.
This is my best friend. Her name is Elena Kim. She is a teacher's
Anyway,
aide. So do you want to do any self introductions, or you want to anything you want to tell my beautiful angels?
No.
Okay.
Because I knew what it felt like to be hurt and picked on, I chose to not pick on them back.
Why not?
Because
If you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. Oh yeah, don't you have like that bully girl in your class?
oh yeah.
So for some context of this, when Elena was still in school, I graduated a couple of years before her. So she and her, like, when you guys get older, you're gonna realize that group texts are the greatest thing ever for studying and for keeping in touch, because you're gonna forget deadlines and you're gonna forget to do homework or something, and somebody in the group chat is gonna save your life. But just because you're in a group chat together doesn't mean that you all get along. So there was one girl who just consistently, she would just be really nasty in her replies, and when other people were mean to you in the chat, she would like their replies, and it was just uh, incredible, because you would think that someone in their 20s would have their shit together and not do something like that.
Yeah.
It's just, my God. And so, yeah, people like that, honestly, they are like trolls. They just love the attention and they love feeling better than someone. But ultimately, like, what are you doing? You don't even know me. Why are you coming
Yeah.
after me?
Yeah. I mean, there were so many times that I tried saying something back to her or being just as rude, but then I was like, if I ignored her, then or if someone tried to say something to me and I wasn't responding, then they would ultimately stop. Um, yeah. I mean, you just have to figure your way around these situations and figure out what's worth like retaliating for and what's not. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not about running around and avoiding the bullies and hiding, because you didn't do anything wrong. You shouldn't have to hide, but it's don't even acknowledge them. I kind of like hitting better. Okay, so that's the thing. In our school, a lot of the culture kind of is that if someone disrespects you, you better fight right there, like in the cafeteria, in the hallway, in the classroom. Someone says something to you, you get up and you smack them. And I guess I just grew up really differently. Like, I learned to use my words to resolve everything. Man, this is a hard topic, because it's kind of, you don't want to tell them, oh, avoid the bullies, but then you also don't want to say, fight them and kick their ass.
Yeah. I mean, what I'm trying to get at is that, like, the only reason why I said in certain cases I didn't say anything back or I just chose to ignore them is because I started to see a pattern where I realized that the only reason why they were saying stuff to me was to try to get my attention. So as soon as that attention was gone, they stopped because they weren't having fun with it anymore. But there are other cases where I've had to actually confront people about stuff and be like, that's not okay what you said to me because ultimately you hurt my feelings.
So it sounds like this is kind of coming full circle, this idea again of it really depends on your relationship with the person. So
Yeah. Yeah.
if someone is just picking on you because they want to pick on you and you don't really know them, then it's kind of whatever. Um, like, all right, you don't have to be in my life, but you're saying that if it's someone you feel like you can actually talk to, you would rather have the conversation.
Yeah. Like with that girl on my group chat or my program, I chose to not really do anything out of it because I realized her and I were never close to begin with. And she doesn't know me. I don't know her. And I was closer to other girls than I was to her. So I was like, well, so then where does she feel the right to pick on me like this? She's just bored, you
Mm.
know?
But I think we're also talking from the perspective of adults, where we do need to handle our own mess.
Yeah.
But like when you were in high school, when you were in middle school, what did you ever talk to an adult about it?
Yeah, I feel like I don't remember, did I? I think I talked to a guidance counselor about it one. But then she kind of was like, "Oh, have you ever tried to tell them that it bothers you?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah,
Obviously, that's why I'm talking to you, Gertrude. Like,
right." And then her response then was just, just ignore them. or to think it's cute or to like let it go. I
I
don't
feel
know.
like they got strict about bullying after we were in school, right? I
Yeah,
feel like it became more of a thing they enforced as we were graduating high school.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember middle school, they really didn't do much. But when I got to high school, I think that's when they started to take it seriously. But
'Cause
yeah, because
I
I've been thinking like we've been kind of approaching this as adults. Like I feel like if you're a student, like if someone's bothering you, tell an adult, please. Just there's a difference between just being like a jerk and actually bullying, right?
yeah.
What constitutes bullying in your opinion?
I think I saw this somewhere on TV recently after The Bachelor.
Of course, after The Bachelor.
Me and Michelle were talking about it. But you know, the way that they said bullying is that like, you know, you're actively trying to bring someone down. Like the whole purpose behind the words that you say is to make them feel bad about themselves. It's like you know, you're making an active effort to inflict pain on a person. It's like taking a match and then sticking against someone's skin and being like, oh, well, does it hurt? I hope it hurts. Whereas, like, I think being a jerk, you're just kind of like, you know, we have so many trolls these days and people who joke around a lot. That is so hard to like find that fine line of when to, you know, call them out on it versus to just let it go because you know they're just joking. Um, but I think with people who we deem as jerks or as trolls, you have to just learn to tell them when certain things are okay to talk about and are not okay to talk about. Whereas, like in the past, like, you know, there was an incident with like, you know what I'm talking about, but there was like an incident with a bunch of guys who were kind of making inappropriate body comments and while I was in the car with them.
Oh yeah, they were talking about I don't like this woman, I don't like that woman's body. Meanwhile, there's like a girl sitting right there.
And to me, that was hurtful because, you know, the way that they were describing it was kind of like how my body is and whatnot. But later, you know, someone told me like I had to confront them about it because one, that really hurt my feelings. Two, they were doing it all while knowing that I was in the car and I wouldn't want them to go around like thinking it's okay to say that to other people. So right there, I had to go there and be like, that's not okay because if you say this again to other people, you're gonna really hurt some girls' feelings, and you shouldn't be making those kind of remarks when you don't know what you're talking about, even if it is out of like he was like, oh, I'm just kidding, blah blah, like it's whatever, and it just makes you look right or mature. He was like a few years older than me too, so I was like, literally, I was like, can you just act your own age?
I feel like then that means that we need to talk about this idea of, I guess, the intentions of words and the idea of confrontation and apologies. I feel like there are a lot of people like those people that you were talking about, where when you do let them know, hey, you hurt me, it becomes this idea of, oh, well, that wasn't my intention, therefore I don't have to apologize.
Yeah, but I read this somewhere where someone was, I think, I forget where I read this, but it said just because someone didn't mean to hurt you doesn't mean that that hurt is any less than what you feel.
Mm.
Came out a little weird, but ultimately, like what it's saying is that just because someone didn't mean to hurt you doesn't mean that that hurt's not there.
Yeah, that's like if I opened up a door and I hit you in the face with it, but I didn't mean to hit you in the face, that doesn't mean that your face doesn't hurt. I'm still hurt, you know? And this may or may not have actually happened to you, but
It was an accident in case anyone's listening to this and is like alarmed.
and you passed out, didn't you?
It was an accident. She didn't mean to. But again, going back to her point, that doesn't mean that it didn't hurt. It really hurt. You know that cartoon where the guy has like that goosebump bump on his head? It
Yeah,
literally
like
was
you
like,
get hit on the head and you get a big lump here.
it was like that for like a full week.
I think this is really interesting because this reminds me of a conversation I had with my brother a few years ago. I noticed that when he was apologizing, he would always say, I'm sorry, but. So I feel like that's a really unhealthy practice we have in our culture, like where you apologize, but you also need to make an excuse for why you were still justified. And it's like, no, when you apologize, you say, I'm sorry for the hurt that I caused you. It's afterwards you can explain yourself, but that shouldn't be stuck together. Like, I'm sorry I hit you in the face with the door, but you were standing in my way. No. I'm sorry I hit you in the face with the door. I didn't realize you were standing there. It was an accident. The butt shouldn't be in there. Do people not teach people how to talk to each other? Like, I feel like this is stuff that we learned. No?
Probably
Yes?
not.
I think what's really cool is that as you get to our age, you start to understand that if somebody tries to brush off something that legitimately is a problem to you, you can aggressively pursue it. You're within your right. So like if you say, hey, like you just, you said before, hey, that thing that you said was not okay, it really hurt me, and they try to say like, oh no, I didn't mean it, it was just a joke, why can't you take a joke? You are 100% allowed to make a scene out of it.
Yeah.
And at first they're going to try to make it seem like, oh, you're crazy, but no, you're allowed to be upset, and you're allowed to pursue that apology until you feel satisfied. And I think especially, I don't really know what the experience is like for guys, because I'm not a guy, but I think what I've seen as a woman is that a lot of times, like, whenever people don't like what you have to say, they kind of go, oh, she's crazy, like, oh, she's so emotional because she's a woman. And it's just, like, I think when I was younger, I was afraid of being like that. I was like, oh, I'm not like other girls. I'm cool. I'm not crazy. And now I'm at an age where I'm like, I don't care if you think I'm crazy. I want my effing apology.
Yeah. I think it's because like in our generation when we were growing up, we were taught that your feelings didn't really matter.
Mm,
Not that like your feelings don't matter, but like in the case that it's like, oh, don't be so sensitive. Don't like let that get to you or whatever. They don't mean it like that. And I feel like we were taught to minimize our pain to give
yes.
comfort to other people.
Mm-hmm.
But I think now that like I've reached my quarter life crisis,
Shut up.
I'm kidding. But now that like, I'm getting older, I'm starting to realize that my feelings are very valid.
Yeah.
That in certain cases it is okay for me to go to a person and tell them that they hurt me or that what they did wasn't right.
I don't know. This is a weird topic because I definitely got bullied when I was growing up too. And when it comes down to it, all those people that bullied me, their lives are nowhere. They're they're human trash. I
Like
graduated from a good
I
school. Like, I have my master's. I have a career that I love. And these people, I see them like they're on Facebook. I don't know. Like, what do they do with their lives except to get drunk and get fat? Like, success is the best form of revenge, in my opinion. We're not good at doing serious topics.
no.
No. So listen, somebody talks trash to you. I think that there are cases where you need to confront them, like we talked about. There are cases where you just gotta ignore them. Like, the crackhead that talks on the corner and yells about like how Jesus is gonna throw a rock at you, like, ignore it, right? There are some cases where you just kind of snitch on them and get an adult to come in and do the smackdown, right? Ultimately, you're not bullied because there's something innately wrong with you. Like Elena said, it's usually because that person has issues of their own they have to deal with. And I'm saying this from, like, we're saying this from the perspective of people who have moved past it and we've grown past it and we're fine now. It's just like you just become a stronger person because our tolerance for people's BS is just so much greater than that of the average person. The world could be falling apart around us like right now, and we're just like, whatever. Like, you become very strong mentally.
I think there was this one like full circle moment where this girl who was actively bullying a lot of girls, I think it was sometime when I was in college, she reached out to me and I was like so confused by it.
Mm.
And she was like, hey, like, can we meet up actually? And I was like, hell no. No, I'm just kidding. But I ended up meeting up with her, and she was talking about how like around that time like she was dealing with a lot, or like she had like family issues, and she just wanted to be deemed cool and she wanted to like go along with whatever. And let me just say this right now, but bullying does not make you cool. If anything, it makes you less of a person. um but anyways, so she when we met up, she was like, oh, like, I just want to tell you that like now, like, I know it's too late for me to apologize for the like hurt that I probably caused for you and a lot of other people, but this is like that, like, she was like saying this is me trying to make amends for it. And she like you know, and like at the end of the day, like I forgave her because holding a grudge, like, you know, what good is that going to do for me? That's just going to turn me bitter and angry and then make me retaliate on other people who don't deserve it because I'm hurting or holding on to past hurt. Also with that girl, she like wrote like a letter to my parents and she was like, "Oh, like I'm so sorry I like hurt your daughter and whatever." And like again, it's like one of those things where like it was a little too late because this is like years past when it happened.
And I feel like she wasn't doing it for you. I feel like she was doing it for her so she could feel better about what she had done.
Well, right, but like I think with her, like she realized that she had like healed a lot of problems that she was holding on to before that caused her to retaliate, which is why I'm saying like, you know, when you hurt someone or you retaliate someone, most of the time it comes out of a place of you holding on to something that you're not trying to heal or deal with. But I think, you know, like that's why I feel like people, you have to be really careful with your words because just because you think one thing's a joke or you feel like it won't matter now, like it can matter to a person like 10 years later and they could still be holding on to that hurt. And then that person could be like hurting other people, you know, and it's just going to be like a domino effect of like people hurting each other because they keep inflicting pain on each other.
Hmm.
Um,
I don't know. I feel like it kind of comes from this fact that people don't think that other people are people, you know? Like you think, "Oh, if I pick on someone to make myself feel better, that's good for me." You don't really think about that person has their own life and their own stuff to deal with. And the stuff you do say to people, like I was joking about it, but when you do use your words, that stuff it stays with people forever. I remember once this sounds so horrible, but there was this one girl in elementary school who, that's not horrible, it just sounds really petty, but there's this girl in elementary school whose name I'm not going to say, but because she might be out there. She would always steal my ideas. So I was really proud of my drawing skills when I was in kindergarten, and I would try really hard to draw beautifully, and this witch would always look over at my paper and she'd steal what I was drawing and then she'd show it to the teacher first and go, "Look at what I drew." And the teacher would compliment her. And then I would say, "But I drew that first." And the teacher would just ignore me. And I don't know, like as time went on, I feel like that girl kind of escalated her meanness towards me, but she ended up transferring out of the school before she could really do anything to me. But I remember like once she turned to me and she was like, "The teacher doesn't care what you say. She always listens to me first." And like, yo, it's been years. That stays with me. I remember her, a little sociopath.
I mean, at the end of the day, I guess it made you a better teacher, I guess.
No, it didn't. It didn't. Okay, I think this is a good place for us to stop. So I'm going to wrap things up here. Thank you very much, Elena, for being a guest on this highly educational and high-class podcast. Hopefully you'll have time to come back and do maybe another topic because we're good with the dumb stuff and we do have plenty of stories. Maybe not so much advice because we're not we're not really qualified to give advice if we think about it. That's how it is. Just because you get older doesn't mean you're smarter, I'll tell you that. I am living proof of that. Everybody, please wash your hands. Please do not lick telephone poles. Be safe. Be healthy. I love you all very much, and I will see you next time.
Yes.
Because words will leave a lasting wound on your psyche that will never heal.
True.
No, because I'm a civilized person. That's why. No, it's because words. You have proof that someone hit you. You got a bruise, but words, I can say whatever I want to you, but you got no proof, you know. But.
And if you want us to start a YouTube channel together, just like
No, denied, blocked.